Well, tell you what I do. How about do you want me to introduce you second, and then after we do the introduction, you can just go into whatever you want to plug?
And I will make it very quick, I promise.
No, hey, do what you gotta do.
I'm pretty sure. I'm short and sweet. I'm like, hey, how you doing?
Mike makes it
neither
easy.
of us do the Ian rant, so.
Because normally his intro, like, usually there's something, like, his little punchline at the end there, like, usually gets me, and I just start laughing, so I'm like, well,
yeah,
usually
I
just
actually really enjoy his intros, so, and oh god, forgive me. You know I have no aphasia. Who's the other guy that's always on with me? Not Josh.
Andy?
Andy. Yeah, Andy's the one who goes bop 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 bop.
Yeah, the podcast people. Which he's stuck. He keeps using that now that you've mentioned that is his thing.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think it's nice.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Brag and Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is Mike Romano.
How we doing?
And Becky Zadel.
Ahoy. Brian has graciously allowed me to tell the Bride Guy fans about my charity very briefly. I run a charity called MetaMesh Wireless Communities. We provide free public Wi-Fi for the developing neighborhoods and poor folks of Pittsburgh. And you guys know how much Verizon and Comcast likes to overcharge you guys. Some people just can't afford that with their food and rent bills. We like to fill in the gaps. There is no public assistance program for free Wi-Fi, and yet you need it to do anything, to apply for assistance, to apply for a job, to do schoolwork. So we're kind of in a little bit of a rut right now. So if you could check out our website, which is www.metamesh.org, just click on our donate page. Any little bit helps. We accept everything from stacks of money with googly eyes to Bitcoin. Please. We actually do accept Bitcoin. And Litecoin, for that matter.
Well, you threw the googly eye reference in there, so I know Ian will be sending something your way.
Yes.
Yes, Ian, make it happen. And Josh Sorich, one of your guest hosts, is on my board of directors. So please,
cool.
if you can spare just a few dollars, every little bit helps, and I can't stress that enough. But thank you, Brian, for letting me say that.
Hey, sure. Yeah, check it out. It's worth checking out. Everybody needs internet. Hell, you need to listen to the show, so that will be helpful
exactly.
too. All right, so as promised for this week, we'll be getting into Marvel and Netflix The Defenders. So this would be the culmination of 2 seasons of Daredevil, single seasons of Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist. I know we've covered Daredevil before. I think we even did Jessica Jones. I think we just did a little bit of Luke Cage. I don't know if we ever actually talked of that show as a whole after we finished it. And we never really gave Iron Fist the time, because that seems to be the show that everyone struggled with. So, really, just before we get into Defenders, for Mike and Becky, did you guys finish Iron Fist before Defenders?
Oh, yeah.
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 Okay. So was it as much as a struggle as everybody else to try to get through that one,
No,
too?
I made it through that faster than I made it through. Luke Cage was a struggle for me.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't hate Iron Fist as much as everyone else did. I will say that I think, first of all, I think the biggest problem with Iron Fist is something that no one really considered. It's not so much that it dragged, but it's been done before. Rich guy falls or crashes, comes back from fall from grace, gains superpowers, and saves the city. We've seen that already.
Batman.
With Arrow, Batman, and who was the crazy one? I forget.
Tony Stark.
We've already No.
Iron Man, but he did too.
It's gonna kill me if I don't think about it. I will think about it, but keep in mind, yeah, Iron Man's another one. See, we've already seen this rich man fall from grace, disappeared, comes back, saves the city. We've seen this already. It's kind of a tried and already tired story, and I think people are kind of tired of seeing that. And it's another male white figure who's rich. So and it's gonna bug me if I don't come up with that other one. And anyway, but that being said, it took a long time for Danny Rand to even prove that he was Danny Rand. So when you finally got to the action and the hot, and all the members of the Hand, most of them were, the villains and Colleen were better characters than Danny.
Yeah, that's pretty sad when the title character of your show is the one that no one wants to watch on screen.
Right.
I'll agree with that, because that's what kept me in it, was the other people other than Danny.
Right. Yeah.
Colleen, I think, is the best character.
Oh, Colleen's great. Are you kidding me?
Her and, what's his face? Her teacher guy. I can't think of the character name for him.
Oh, the asshole?
Yeah. You called him, like, the smug son of a bitch or something?
He's a smug son of a bitch. Bakudo.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate Bakudo. There is one, I think, very well done episode of Iron Fist, and it's episode 6. It's called Immortal Emerges from the Cave, and that's when Madame Gal puts him through the trials, and he has to fight Scythe and Andrai and the Bride of the Nine Spiders. And I don't know if I told you guys, but comic-wise, like especially Bride of the Nine Spiders and Scythe, they made those characters look exactly true to the book.
Oh, okay.
And that was, do you remember, and at the very end, he fights Gal?
That was a good episode. That was a very good episode.
I was very much hoping that the rest of the season would be okay, but they were not so good. But that episode, if you watch any episode, watch Immortal Emergence from the Cave.
Mike, what did you think of that first season?
It was alright. I told you my biggest gripe about it was the fact that they picked a dude to be a martial artist that isn't a martial artist.
Yeah.
So, like, it's very obvious, could tell that.
Yeah.
Very obvious. And that was the hardest part for me to watch, was honestly the fight scenes were just terrible.
Well, I mean, considering what we got from Daredevil, and then you go to Iron Fist, who I feel like is supposed to be a better martial artist than Matt Murdock. And
I'd take Matt Murdock any day.
Well, Murdoch's more of a brawler, a boxer and stuff, too. That's where his training is and stuff like that. So, Danny Rand was trained in the martial art type of fighting style more than Matt Murdock was, so I feel like his fight scenes should have been more exciting than what Daredevil was.
It looked very, very fake to me. And that was my biggest gripe about it. And I just didn't really care for Danny Rand's character. Like I said, I liked all the supporting characters a lot better.
Yeah.
I absolutely agree. I've heard that complaint the most out of more, but I also think, like, by the way, the character I was thinking of was Moon Knight.
Moon Knight, okay, yeah.
Another rich guy, he goes to Egypt, comes back, although he's a little bat crap crazy. He's like Tom Cruise crazy.
Scientology crazy.
But yeah, I mean, the fact is that this story has been told before. Yeah. And again, the highlight of, and I don't know if you guys have read the new Power Man and Iron Fist. Those comics are great. They've got a real hip-hop slant to them, and they're very uniquely told. But Iron Fist has talent. And we don't see that. You kind of just see him like, "Wah, I'm Danny. Believe me.
Yeah.
Look at this piece of pottery." And Colleen is the one that really brings the human aspect to it. And I hate to say this, but the Bakudo and even Madame Gao, I love Madame Gao. Madame Gao are more interesting than Danny will ever be.
Yeah. Now, granted, I don't read the comics, so you might have to correct me if I'm wrong, Becky. But for Danny, I didn't feel like Danny had an arc in the first season of Iron Fist. I feel like he's the same character from the beginning, middle, and end. And
he learns nothing.
Yeah.
And he was still the same in Defenders, too, so.
Right. I feel like he's spouting the same lines of dialogue that I am the immortal Iron Fist, and I have this to do, this is my job, this is my duty, and then he just whines and complains. And when people try to correct him and show him what is actually happening and how to view the world and what he should be doing, he just ignores them and says, "No, I'm going to do my own thing," and then gets his ass handed to him and then thinks something's going to change. And it got really frustrating after a while. But midway through the season, I think, when I realized that he was just saying the same crap and doing the same stuff over and over again, that got frustrating to me.
Completely agree. No, see, and that is a departure from the comics because Danny Rand does. And keep in mind, we don't see a lot of his training in Kunlun, and I think one of the biggest problems with Iron Fist is that they focused a lot on the whiny bullshit with the Meachums. Ward and Joy. And Ward, talk about douche canoe.
Yeah, he absolutely is.
Ward is the worst, and like 3/4 of the season focuses on Ward and Joy, and not a sufficient amount about his training and how he changed in Kunlun. And then you get the change between Ward and Joy, and then Harold's crap, and then the Hands crap, and then Colleen and Bakudo. And I think it suffered not just from what you said, the lack of martial arts, which was sorely needed, but also a little bit of focus.
Yeah.
It jumped around between Harold and Ward and Joy and Colleen and Kunlun and Bakudo, and you're just like,
Not to mention, I feel like Joy takes a 180-degree character turn at the end of that season for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah.
Agreed. And you know what? It sucks because Iron Fist is actually pretty cool, and again, I urge you guys to check out the new comics, Power Man and Iron Fist, because they're actually pretty awesome.
Well, more to the point, I do think that sort of, I don't want to jump forward too much, but when we finally see Danny and Luke Cage together in Defenders, I think their interaction worked a lot better to make Iron Fist a better character.
100% agree.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So I think that's the thing. I don't know if they were just building towards that and they didn't want to do too much with Danny without Luke around or what, but it made season 1 of Iron Fist feel a little bit stale to me. So I'm hoping they do more with him and see, because all these characters and seasons are getting another season coming. So Iron Fist season 2, I'm hoping they actually do something different with the character, or at least have him have an arc of some kind. That would be nice. But I think that's still a couple ways off, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Also, I think they are working towards that, because you've got Power Man and Iron Fist, but, again, I don't want to jump out of this too much, but do you know who become a comic book fighting duo is Colleen and Misty?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're called the Daughters of the Dragon, and they're so awesome.
I'd like to see that. I'd actually like to see that. I'm not too big of a fan on Misty, like her character, but like
everyone hated Misty.
I think
okay with
somebody.
Misty.
I think just some. I mean, she was okay, but I don't know. Maybe somebody different. I don't know.
Well, have you guys read any Daughters of the Dragon?
No, I just know
they
of
are. I mean, they were introduced in the 70s, in the early Iron Fist stories, and I gotta tell you, they are badass. Yeah, and they got a limited series in the early 2000s. It didn't work very well, but again, a lot of the early Marvel stuff in the early 2000s didn't do too well. But they're badass. They're, Colleen combined with Misty, and by the way, Misty in the comic books is a lot more likable. She finally breaks out of that, I'm a cop, I gotta follow the rules, No, she doesn't give a shit. She's a lot more, Shaft-like, you know what I mean?
That's kind of what I was expecting. I think I was, expecting more, I don't know, more badass, more I'm the shit, instead of...
And that boring, her getting injured happens in the story arc with the Daughters of the Dragon. So she gets injured, although I don't think it's her hand. I'm not positive.
No, she has a cybernetic arm.
Yeah. So, she does, and that whole boring part, once that arm happens, then she teams up with Colleen to be a vigilante, and that's what kickstarts it. So, in a small way, all of this kind of boring character development had to happen.
Yeah.
So,
all right, since I feel like we're already starting to lean there, I just want to throw out the spoiler.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Like I said, just because I know we can go off and start going, so I just want to throw out the spoiler warning for anybody that hasn't seen the show, and then we can free reign to talk about whatever we want. So from this point forward, we will talk about spoilers for Marvel's Defenders. If you haven't seen the show, pause us now, come back to us after you've finished. It's only 8 episodes, you can get through it in a weekend. It's fairly easy. So spoilers to follow. This is spoiler warning for Marvel's Defenders.
Wee-oo, spoiler! Wee-oo, spoiler! Something like that.
Okay, so we are in the not spoiler free. We can talk spoilers now for Defenders. So we were starting to talk about Misty Knight. I wanted to sort of try to say something, and now I'm trying to think of my train of thought here. But you guys were talking about how she was seemed really rigid and wanted to stay in that I'm a cop type of zone.
Right. I mean,
think
she lets them
I feel like
go at the end. It's just
and I think she's leaning towards the character you guys were talking about. I think I think Becky, like you were saying, they had to go through sort of like that slow burn for her through Luke Cage, through Defenders. Now that she's lost a limb,
right,
and can see what type of good that these characters can do together to help the city and the rigidness of the law. That she might be a little bit more of a vigilante when we next see her, which I'm guessing will be Luke Cage season 2.
Yeah, that's what I'm
I already
thinking.
saw something.
Yeah.
She had there's a picture floating around on the internet with her and Luke Cage with her bionic arm already.
Nice.
So,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's a question. Do you have to like give a description, or I'm assuming people have already seen it? Can I just throw out a question about something random?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Luke Cage is currently with Rosario Dawson.
Yes.
Anyone who even has glanced at the comics, at any comic of any of the Defenders, knows that Luke Cage ends up marrying Jessica Jones.
Yes.
And they have a daughter who loves to spit out swear words, and it's fucking hilarious. And their relationship held up through the entire season, and though Luke Cage threw some, like, knowing, we still care about each other glances, they mainly stayed platonic throughout the series. Do you think something's going to happen to Rosario Dawson?
Truth be told, I thought she was going to die in the finale of this season.
I did too!
I thought for sure when she was involved with everybody in that skyscraper, when they were talking about planting explosives to take the building down, I was like, nope, she's going to go. This is going to be it. There's no reason for her to be there. There is no logical reason why she is in that building. She has no superpowers.
Yep.
She doesn't know how to set explosives.
The only reason she's
there... Just like in Iron Fist when she was fighting alongside Colleen Wing and Danny Rand. I mean, like, what the fuck was she doing there?
That, I guess I can believe a little bit more because they established earlier in that season that she's training with Colleen, so she can handle herself a little bit. But this was full on, like, we're going on a suicide mission. We might not make it out of this building alive, and there's Claire just hanging out. I don't know.
I don't know.
I thought for sure she was going. I thought that was going to be it.
I'll be honest. I thought she was going to die too.
Because aren't her and Danny Rand and her are an item, or at least were at one point. I'm pretty sure. I thought that's what I heard.
See, I thought Danny and
Misty not in the show.
Thing.
I'm not in the show. I'm talking.
Oh, you mean
maybe
in
it
the
was
comic
Misty
books?
Knight. Yeah, you're right. Maybe it was Misty Knight.
Danny and Misty are together.
Okay, that's what it is. Okay, never mind. Like I said, I only read Spider-Man. Sorry.
It's fine. And you gotta remember, like, so many things have been retconned and changed, although the Defenders have been more or less straightforward as compared to, say, Spider-Man or X-Men or something like that, where things just get cluster-fucked.
Yeah.
But no, I'll be honest, Brian, I thought the same as you, because the whole time I'm kind of rooting. Alright. TV.
You want her out of the way.
No. I was thinking TVMA here. That whenever Luke Cage got out of jail and was like giving it to Rosario Dawson, I was like, okay, this guy is powerful. He's gonna break her tiny little 90-pound body. Do you know who could take his manly thrust? Jessica Jones. He's holding...
Which they established earlier in her show.
But the whole time I'm watching that, like, sex scene, I'm thinking, oh, he's holding back. So, I know that's weird to think about, but again, I've seen, in the Luke Cage, Power Man and Iron Fist comics, they're married and have a toddler. So, from issue number 1. So I'm curious as to, probably, I think, as you said, in Luke Cage season 2, I think they're going to do something there. Because, again, she was the thread that tied all these characters together. She was in all of them, right? Was she in Jessica Jones? Yeah, she appeared once.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, because she put down Luke Cage.
Right.
Yeah.
She shot him in the head with a shotgun.
Yes.
We don't need her anymore.
When I was thinking she was gonna die, I figured since this sort of follows the template of the Avengers, that she would be the Phil Coulson that is the through line for all the shows, and then when they finally team up, she would bite the dust, and then the team would have to regroup and, avenge Claire type of thing.
Yeah.
But it surprised me because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
I can't tell if I'm disappointed or excited it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, I like Rosario Dawson, I like the character, I just think it would be more interesting for the characters moving forward, like everybody else, if Claire goes.
Yes, I concur.
Like a bonding agent, basically, like to motivate the team to be together.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the sacrifice that Daredevil made, I think that's what's gonna propel if they do another Defenders series, which I'm sure they're probably going to.
Yeah, I mean, everybody else, like I said, everybody has their next season lined up already. So
yeah, I mean, they already started filming Daredevil season 3 already. So.
Yeah, so they could do all that and come back around for Defenders after everybody gets a single season again.
That's my biggest thing is, like, I wonder how they're going to play these new seasons now, like, because they all know about each other, so, like, are they going to start appearing in each other's shows? Kind of like how Luke Cage was in Jessica Jones. Like, I mean, are we going to see Danny Rand in Luke Cage?
See, this is the whole thing.
How could you keep it separate now?
That we all thought about.
That's the big question.
It's the same thing we all thought about after Avengers came out. Instead, okay, all these superheroes are together now, so it makes no sense why they would split up and have their own adventures and not call on each other when the shit hits the fan.
True. Yeah.
Now, to the point, I think it's harder to get actors and schedules and all that stuff to cross over for a movie. TV shows, I think, are probably a little bit more flexible, especially because some of these will probably be filming simultaneously together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's more likely you'll see them cross over in each other's shows. I just don't. I'm trying not to put my hopes on it because I don't know how much we'll get.
I mean, honestly, if they wanted to do away with something, honestly, I'd be totally okay with them just creating a Luke Cage Iron Fist TV show. Because like you said earlier, I honestly don't like either of their characters at all. in either show, I just don't. I don't know why. I just don't. I mean, I know why I don't like.
Such a beautiful man.
He is a beautiful man. He is. He's a black Greek god. I mean, but I don't know. There's just something about him in general by himself. When he's by himself, I'm not a huge fan. But when he's with all the other, I think we talked about this when Luke Cage came out. Like when he's with all the other characters, I like him.
Yeah.
And I don't like Danny Rand by himself. But when those two were together and they were in that building and they went back to back, I was like, yes, give me that. Just give me that for an entire show or like an entire episode series.
You know what? I agree with you. I was one of you said before. I think before we went on the air that you had some difficulty getting through Luke Cage, and I did too.
I did.
I watched all of Jessica Jones, both seasons of Daredevil, all of the Defenders, in less than a night. Now, again, I spent a lot of time in hospital beds, but it took me a while to get through Luke Cage, and no, it's not a racist element. I think there's something to him being this, like, classic cowboy flawed hero that he's just like, oh, he's really perfect, and he's philosophically brilliant, and yes, he's this Greek god, but by himself, he's kind of boring.
He really is.
And he doesn't nearly exhibit as much personality as he does in the comics.
Yeah.
He's like this, like, anti-hero. This kind of boring anti-hero, unless he's paired up with Jessica Jones. Unless he's paired up with Iron Fist. So I think you're right. The supporting characters really make it. And I will bring this up, there has to be some crossover because there was a notable kind of, do you know the two that I'd like to see team up and just have a long drunken night is Karen Page and Trish Walker. Because look at all the shit they've seen. They are both brilliant. They're both beautiful. They've both dealt with superheroes, and they are just sitting there like, well, what are we gonna do now? And they had that moment.
Isn't Trish Walker? Isn't she a hero herself in the comics?
I mean,
she's a cat.
She's some sort of like
something cat.
Something cat. She's a cat, right?
She is, but not until later. I mean, I don't. Let it suffice to say that I don't think Netflix is going to give her powers.
Okay.
I mean,
well, I don't even think she had like powers. I think she was just like a very, good martial artist /
right. Oh no,
acrobat.
I mean,
kind of like Catwoman kind of deal.
Right. You saw her whenever she was training. Given her background, I mean, she made her trainer like beat the shit out of her.
Yeah.
So no, I think I know you're right. It's just
the Shadow Cat.
No, she's not
Shadowcat.
Shadowcat.
That's
X-Men.
X-Men.
That's X-Men.
That's where I wanted to go too, but I was like, I know that's not right.
No. But, I mean, point being is that I think that those two... Hellcat is her name.
Yes.
That's
Hellcat.
it.
Yeah, she doesn't have... you're right, but she is given, and this is why I'm saying, she was given psychic senses, and I think she can generate a force field, but that's way later. I mean, that's whenever she's given, like, actual, thanks to an accident, by I think the Avengers 50 State Initiative. Again, that's going way back. But, point is that I don't think Netflix is tapping into that at all. And I think that those two could team up and be super cool.
I actually think, and maybe I'm reading into this, but I feel like when they were all in, like, witness protection in the police station, I feel like Trish was on the verge of putting together who Daredevil is.
Absolutely. I think they all
she's
were.
She's looking around the room to see, okay, well, these people know that person, these people know that person. She sees Foggy and Karen. I think she might have pieced together that they're friends with Matt, or they're there because of Matt, but, like, why would they be there because of a blind lawyer?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know, guys, alright, sorry, you know my comic book knowledge. Fun fact! Patsy Walker actually appeared way before any of the Daredevil or Jessica Jones characters. She appeared in 1944. Whereas, like, the first Daredevil wasn't until Daredevil number 1 was 1964. And
I would say we're around the same time as Spider-Man.
Yeah, Jessica Jones was much later. So, she appeared in actually Miss America magazine number 2. And that's, and then later, 20 years later in 1976, she was turned into Hellcat. But they kept her character as, like, this supporting role and later for Jessica Jones. So, she fucking preceded all these characters.
So they're bound to do something with her now, right? She's the oldest one they can use.
I hope they do, because you know what? Trish, alright, Jessica Jones is my favorite show out of all of them. And it's not just because I'm female. I think they made her nuanced, they made her flawed, gave her, and, when she says, I see a lot of fictional characters say, I want to be alone, and then they go to their friends right away. She quite literally pushes away everyone in her life because of how much she fucked up she is, and 2, how much she cares about them given what happened with Kilgrave. But Trish is the exception, and you see Trish's very horrible background. I mean, she was this, child TV star, but you saw what her mother did to her, and how much, Jessica protected her. So, it's interesting, and I think Trish is one of the most nuanced, non-mutant characters in the Netflix universe. Yeah. So, I'd like to see them do more with her. Will they? I don't know. It's Netflix.
Well, if they do, it'll probably have to be Jessica Jones season 2 if they do anything with her.
Yeah. I love Jessica. I think Jessica Jones is just so strong. I mean, it's got the most, it doesn't fly all over the place. It's got the appropriate amount of, crossover with Luke Cage. You've got really strong villains. You've got, Carrie, oh my god, I'm so sorry. Carrie Ann Moss's Harper. Harper's a great, kind of flawed ally. So, I don't know. I love Jessica Jones. And quite frankly, she's my favorite character next to Madame Gal, who's a little weak in this, in the Defenders. She's the strongest character in the Defenders, in my humble opinion.
Jessica Jones?
Mm-hmm.
Is that who you're talking about, Jessica Jones?
Yeah,
still?
Jessica Jones. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I think Jessica Jones is still my favorite show out of all of these.
I think I liked it because it was more of a psychological thriller kind of deal. I did. I've watched. I watched Daredevil, and I like both Daredevil seasons and Defenders season and Jessica Jones. I watched within a couple of days, but I think Jessica Jones, I did in 2 days.
Yep.
And I don't think I did that with Daredevil, either of the Daredevil seasons. And I love the Daredevil shows, but Jessica Jones, something about it just got me just hooked. My girlfriend even watched it with me. She's like, I can't believe we're sitting here watching it. I think we watched 5 or 6 episodes in the first night. It was ridiculous.
Just that noir feeling and her relationships with people, and then Kilgrave
was awesome.
David Tennant, holy shit, he's
Doctor Who.
Yes.
So, I mean, he is a brilliant, and he's also, but, much like, Kingpin, he was a villain that you could not sympathize with, but empathize with. You could actually see his motivations and his soul a bit, just like Kingpin, and honestly, and looping this back into the original, Alexandra and Sigourney Weaver, who's a brilliant actress, I think they missed a huge opportunity to bring a real villain into the picture, and instead of, being a real villain, she kind of just lectured people and got sad.
Yeah. Yeah, I was expecting more from her. Especially when they hire someone the caliber of Sigourney Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of expect something better. And Becky, maybe you know, is Alexandra, is she created for the show, or is she from the comics? Because I don't know who that is.
If I remember she is created for the show.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm not positive. But the Hand is in the comics. But I'm all
because I don't know too much. Sorry, I don't know too much about the Hand leadership other than Elektra. I know at one point ran it, or is running it.
Right.
So I don't know who came before her.
Yeah, she's. I don't think so. Yeah, no, she's not. I just checked, and that's why I got so. Yeah, she is not at all in the comics.
Not in the comics?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
And I was trying to remember because, there's it's Marvel. So how many times... but again, the Defenders have not taken that many side tracks as much as X-Men or Spider-Man or Batman. So, no, Alexandra is not in the comics. So,
Okay.
and the whole time, I don't know. I think they tried to humanize her much in the way they did with Kingpin and the wife and Kilgrave and his history. But I think it just made her weaker. And the whole time, I think she cared less about the Hand and being a villain and taking down the Defenders as opposed to just beating her cancer.
Yeah.
And forgive me, that just made her seem weaker as a villain.
Yeah.
It almost seemed
she
like
didn't strike fear. Like, she didn't, it didn't do anything for me. It was like, I feel like she could have just been somebody else.
Well, to me, it almost felt like they just needed a story reason for the Hand to rush their plans.
Yes.
So that they become vulnerable to the Defenders, and suddenly they're out in the open, type of thing.
Like, if they can't die, what's she worth? I mean, I guess she has something terminal, that would kill her no matter what, I guess.
Well, they said it's spread everywhere. And, funny story.
I must have missed that. I guess it was cancer then, I guess,
yeah,
I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, I must have missed that. That must have been the first episode when I kind of was, zoned out a little bit.
It was. She gets scanned, and they said it spread to all of her major organs, and they're shutting down. And it's sad that I know this, but whatever she has, well, it is spreading to her major organs, because whatever she has is enough to warrant her taking oxycodone 50s. That's how much I know about medication and being sick, because the moment she tipped those pills, she's taking Oxy 50, which is a huge dose. Mostly only given to cancer patients.
I think there's even a line dialogue somewhere in there, I think from her, where they talk about living forever, but somehow the body can only sustain for so long. And she's at the point where her body is finally just giving up and shutting down.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, eventually I guess it could happen to all the other Hand members that are high up and basically
not Bakuto, because he got his head fucking cut off.
Yeah, well, true. Yeah.
Douchey. Oh, I hate Bakuto. Oh, I look, I'm not mincing words. I love Madame Gao. I think Madame Gao is strong and intelligent, and she's got this great, personality, and she commands respect. And, both in the Iron Fist, and a little bit of Daredevil, and obviously the Defenders, I think she's great. If anyone was going to lead the fucking Hand, I thought it'd be her.
Yeah, exactly. I would have pegged her as the leader of the Hand.
Yeah.
Not Sigourney Weaver's character.
Well, didn't they make it... They almost made it seem like she was leading at one point, right? Or at least tried to mutiny against...
Yeah, she led a coup and it failed.
Okay.
Against
yeah,
Alexandra. Yeah.
Alright, so let's just sort of go into, what we liked and what we didn't like about the show. So, and we'll just see where that discussion takes us. So, what were some of the stuff that you guys liked about the show, other than the stuff we've already talked about?
It seemed. I honestly, I still think with all these shows, maybe except for the exception of Jessica Jones, all these shows need to be shorter lengths, like not 13 episodes, because then you can condense it more and it kind of keep the ball rolling more instead of having maybe 1 or 2 filler episodes that are they're a little bit slow.
Right.
I get building the story. I understand all that. Because that's everybody, everybody bitches about The Walking Dead, and that's why I was like, I understand that, but you have to build the story. I get it, but I don't know. Just something about the Defenders seemed to kind of just keep rolling.
Yeah,
I feel like there was too many down episodes, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I think maybe that's because it's only 8. If they would have had 13, they could have drug it out more, and there could have been a lot more junk in there, basically.
Right.
I think condensing it down would make it better.
Yeah, I think 8 to 10 is usually a solid episode count for these shows. Because I agree, I think there are some fillers in the 13 episode seasons.
Yeah.
But I think this
8.
show, yeah.
Yeah.
And I do think this show, I think the Defenders specifically benefited from having basically 4 main characters that you're juggling time between. So even if it was 13 episodes, I feel like they could have filled that. Just because you're following main characters from these other single seasons that have now come together and stuff like that. So yeah, I would like to see, I think, 8 to 10 episodes for single character seasons. I think that would help the story, but I don't know. I assume the next seasons they're going to do are all going to be 13 episodes.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know for sure. I'm assuming that, if that's what the other ones were.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to say that everything's going to be in the 12-13 range.
Anything else stand out to you guys that you liked?
I thought the team together had great chemistry. To be honest with you, I thought they had pretty good chemistry all together.
Yeah.
The whole cast did, I think. I feel like other than Sigourney, and sad to say, is other than Sigourney Weaver's character, I felt like the whole cast worked very well together.
I thought she acted well enough. Sigourney.
Oh, she acted fine. I
just
don't
have a problem with Sigourney Weaver's acting. It's just they didn't give her character anything to do.
Yeah, and I think that was the biggest issue.
So I thought, I generally liked. Okay, I was entertained by the Defenders. I didn't dislike it. I like the chemistry between the actors. I think the growing relationship between Iron Fist and Luke Cage is going to get better. But it's weird because I thought all of the characters were diluted as a result of them being combined. The cinematography was pretty decent except for the final episode, which is sad. It was well acted, well shot. I don't know. I thought everything was diluted. I liked Madame Gao's performance because I always like her. And I really liked Murakami. I would love to learn more about that guy because he in the
lone wolf guy.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. He's a pretty strong hand member in the comics, and I very much like him. And they didn't give him the time of day.
Did he make it out? I can't remember if he got killed or not. He made it out, right? I think Bakudo
gets killed. Gal gets out.
I think that guy gets injured, but I think he makes it out.
I think he gets injured, but I think he makes it out. You're right.
That's what I liked about him, too, is because, everybody else comes rolling in with their armies, and, all their henchmen, and he comes in just by himself.
Yeah, Bakudo's killed, Alexandra's murdered by Elektra, Murakami and Gal are buried alive, but since we know, and we said spoilers, since we know Murdoch gets out, we're assuming that they could probably get out as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I love Madame Gao's character too much, but it just seems like, while Gal was so strong in the individual episodes, and even Bakudo, I think Bakudo's such a smug shit in the Defenders, but at least he was a better character in Iron Fist. But I thought the Hand in general, probably because of the writing, not Sigourney Weaver, because she's great, but the writing for Alexandra was so bad.
Yeah.
Or weak.
We could be better, yeah.
The Hand was just weak. And it was this huge threat that didn't really seem very threatening to me, given the power of all these people. And Elektra, Oh, alright, sorry. I don't want to skip Sean everything around because Electra...
Well, here.
I'm sorry.
No, save it for a second, because I'm just going to spat out just a couple bullet points of stuff that I liked, and then I feel like we're going to tear it apart a little bit.
Yeah,
so we'll
we
get
are.
into the crap we didn't.
That's why I got this beer.
So some of the stuff that I liked, I did actually like the slow burn of how it started.
Yes.
Like, they didn't just immediately start the first episode, they're all a team. Like, you have to work to get there.
Yeah.
And by the time it happens, you've had that build up to it. So when it finally happens, at I think the end of episode 3, when they show up at Rand and they start fighting in the hallway and all that stuff, like, from then on, I'm like, all right, this is awesome. This is what I wanted to see. I was impressed with how each character, like Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, they all had their separate storylines going, and by the time they all started to crisscross, it totally made sense for what was going on in the story.
Yeah.
Everybody had their own reasons and motivations for being at that office building when they were, and it's just coincidence they were all there at the same time, but character-wise and motivation-wise, it all worked and made sense, so I was cool with that. I think those are the only couple bullet points I liked. I mean, overall, I like the show, so I don't have too many complaints, I don't feel like, but we'll see where we go with this. So what were some of the stuff that stuck out to you that you didn't like? Were you going to go off on a tangent, Becky, for Elektra with that sort of?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Elektra's motivations are so scattershot that she doesn't come across as a real person at all. And look, don't get me wrong, I understand what Elektra's done to her, and she kind of has her soul sucked out and then put back in, and she's deformed, but that's not the point. She's a tool for the hand. Let me put it this way. She was a tool for the hand originally, and for Alexander in particular. Now she's a tool for the writers of the show, and she's a character they can use to create an intense conflict for Matt Murdock without needing her story to actually make sense. That's my biggest... That's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, and is she driven by her love for Matt? She denies it. She says what she really loves is her love for the thrill of the game. She's supposedly fixated on eternal life, but she's also content to die if she dies with Matt by her side. It doesn't make sense.
See, that's something... I'm with you that they didn't explain or flesh that out too much in this show. I'm hoping they spin off and dig deeper in that in Daredevil Season 3.
Yeah.
Assuming she made it out. Like, we don't see her get out. We have to assume she made it out, because I think she's too big of a character just to leave buried under rubble off screen and be done with it.
Right. There's just... Elektra's... she's used as a plot point, and obviously that was going to happen, but it's so inconsistent that unfocused writing, as opposed to the character's deeper confusion and indecision, which it could have been. But I think it was just John Kerry flip-flopping. So, yeah,
it was actually... Oh, sorry. You could still go?
No, I just feel bad because overall I was entertained by the show and I enjoyed watching it. But as a comic book fan and a fan of the individual shows, I found so much to dislike. And I felt bad about disliking it because I was so much looking forward to the show. And a lot of my pet peeves actually came out in the end.
The last episode really had a couple things for me, and I even put it on Facebook.
Yeah, you and I were talking.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Oh, that's right. We can finally talk about that now. So, okay, so I think on Facebook, I think I said something about, somebody gets cut, and then something falls.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so when Kristen Wiig gets cut in the back by Bakuto when they're fighting, and she falls to the ground, there's no cut on her back. Like, you see it 1 second, you see the cut on her shoulder, like across her shoulder, but as she falls to the ground, there's nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit of a goofball. That, and then the fact that whenever they cut the cord for the elevator to go down the shaft, and Elektra and Daredevil are down there fighting, where the fuck did it fall to?
Yep. Yeah.
It never came down.
Yeah.
It just apparently just floated out in space, I guess, or
why did...
That was my two big pet peeves. That and when they got into the elevator, that looked so CG.
Oh,
it was terrible.
That was awful. And also,
that was so bad.
That last fight was supposed to be the culmination of all their powers versus the hand. Alright, first of all, it was CGI to death. Second of all, it was in the dark. You could hardly make out what the fuck they were doing. And lastly, it was the worst song choice I've ever heard. It was like
I was waiting for that. I knew we'd get there eventually.
What was the song? I don't even remember, to be honest with you.
I don't dislike hip-hop. I don't dislike rap. But it did not fit the mood. I'm sorry.
What was the song?
It was some hip hop
Rap,
rap song like
yeah.
she's talking about. I don't know specifically what it was, but
I don't even
I'm with
remember. To
Becky.
be honest with you, I don't even remember.
It stood out like a sore thumb
Mhm.
because she's right. At that point of the movie, this is when they're working as a team to defeat the Hand. That's when you need like some sort of Defenders theme song,
Yeah.
not a song that comes straight out of a Luke Cage like single season thing. Like that was. It seems specifically geared towards Luke Cage, which doesn't make sense because he's not the focus of anything going on in that scene. If anything, if you can't use a Defenders theme, you should be using a Daredevil theme because he's the one having the most personal fight out of everybody.
Exactly. I don't know. I was so disappointed and just, I don't know. There was so much going on and the dragon's bones and, oh, how did these end up underneath Manhattan? That's never explained. That could have been a great story. That could have been really interesting. Why is there a dragon skeleton under Hell's Kitchen? That would have been really interesting as opposed to dragging out their meeting. Also, alright, this is a really big nitpicking, but I love the episode where they finally all get together in the Chinese restaurant. But it seems like they were inserting conflict for no reason. Like, Danny Rand and Luke Cage were getting along just fine, and then all of a sudden, like, if you rewatch it, you'll see Luke Cage gets pissed after, like, oh, they're getting along fine, and he goes, oh, you're a rich boy, I don't have to listen to you, and it just comes out of the blue, and I'm like, oh, they did that on purpose. God, shut up. You know, oh, of course that the guy from Harlem has to hate the rich boy, who's only been rich for about 2 years. It's just, it was inserted as a plot point, and it stuck out like a sore thumb to me.
Yeah.
Because it was...
See, that one I kind of missed. That one kind of fell by the wayside for me.
Watch it again.
Now that you say that, I do
Watch it
remember
again.
that. Like, it was just like, yeah, it was kind of just like out of nowhere. It was like, what? Like, they were cool, now they're not cool. What the?
Yeah.
And nothing caused that to be uncool, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because, and this, remember how I said I like Jessica Jones? Jessica Jones plays a very small part in the overarching narrative of the Defenders. But the show would be poorer for it without her. She is the character who comments about how ridiculous the situation is. And you need someone like Jessica to point out all this bullshit. She's the audience surrogate for any viewer who thinks that this show's kind of stupid. And that's most of us, but still ends up engrossed in the story. That's me! But this is important because she needed something to get over her post-Kilgrave PTSD. Fighting the forces of evil with the Defenders. It does the job. Her relationship with Luke Cage gets a little bit of development, and maybe they'll finally get Rosario Dawson out of the picture. But seeing Jessica and Luke reconnect, even on a small point, and her and Trish become better friends, her actually returning Trish's calls, is one of the most satisfying things that the Defenders does. Because there's so much complex emotions and dynamic things going on. As opposed to the other characters, where there's no growth.
Yeah, I don't think, obviously we talked about Iron Fist doesn't do anything.
Yeah, you're true. That's right. I'm sorry.
Daredevil absolutely did, because he finally let people in and let people know who the hell he was.
Right, no, Matt does have growth. I'm talking about the Defenders by itself. Matt absolutely has growth, but remember that I told you, my problem with Elektra and her just scattershot character development, or lack thereof, kind of brings that to a screeching halt. And Foggy, I fucking love Foggy. Foggy is so underused, and Foggy's the one who ultimately pushes Matt towards what needs to happen.
I'll always know him as Fulton Reed.
Yeah, I know, Fulton Reed!
Mighty Ducks.
Yes!
You know, him and Luke Cage had the best exchange in the show, where Luke Cage is leaving jail, and he says, "Oh, by the way, people call me Foggy," and he goes, "Oh, you let them?"
I love Foggy. I love that. So Jessica Jones is probably my favorite, followed by Daredevil. So I don't know. Things just bother me throughout this whole show. I feel bad because I really wanted to like this show. I really wanted to like it.
My biggest pet peeve, and it was one of my pet peeves with Jessica Jones and Luke Cage's shows, is they're so strong and powerful that they have a very tough time of showing it on TV.
Yeah.
Like it's so like forced and awkward to me. Like I get it. It's easy for them to just go pick somebody up and throw them down, and I think that was part of the reason why I didn't like some of the Defender fight scenes too, because like watching them fight, it's like, oh God, you could tell it's just so fake. And that's the problem. That's why Jessica Jones as a series is like my favorite because of the mental crap that they play.
Right.
But Daredevil is still my favorite because it has the best choreographed fight scenes. It has the most realistic fight scenes, and it's just badass. And like, I miss that. Like that's the one thing that drives me nuts with the Defenders because you got Matt Murdock fighting. Every fight scene he's in is just awesome. Jessica Jones, you could tell she can't herself, Kristen Ritter doesn't know how to fight, so it makes it even more awkward for her to have superpowers and not be able to fight.
Well, I think that lends to the character, I think.
She's drunk. She's drunk all the time, and also.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I guess you're
right. So Jewel is Jessica Jones' superhero name. Jewel can also fly.
Jewel, yeah.
And I don't think that Marvel has given her that power in the Netflix
She
series.
can just jump really far.
She could just jump. I think she's ashamed of it in Jessica Jones, so she only uses it when she gets so angry or very overprotective of Trish.
True.
But throughout the Defenders, I was angry because up until that Chinese restaurant episode where she puts the moves it with one hand in front of the door.
They never really let her show her full
power.
They
don't let her show it, and when they do, it's so obviously CGI'd, and she's super strong and she can fly, but again, flight isn't part of her power. It wouldn't be that difficult. It's not like Danny Rand's character not being able to fight when he obviously can't. So I was a little, again, this is another complaint, a little let down. I mean, Luke Cage is a little bit easier to play because he's just indestructible. Matt Murdock, again, I think they always do a great job of Daredevil and the character. God, another Brit playing an American just on spot. But I was let down by, again, Jessica Jones, I think, is a great character, but I think they underused her. Yeah,
I'll go along with that, Yeah, but when she pushed the car through the whatever, what was it? She pushed the car through the building, right?
Yeah.
Is that what she did? Like, yeah, she like showed her like full potential like of power, and that's like they kind of like hold her back a little bit, and it's kind of disheartening.
Yeah. Although
and then just
sorry.
Even with Luke Cage's fight scenes, it's just like I still feel like it's like he's forcing trying to be a fighter, like as an actor trying to fight,
right?
And I get it. He's strong, and it's easy for. I mean, like I said, it's easy for him to lift somebody up. It's like us lifting up our glass of beer, or whatever. But I don't know. I wish they could. I don't know how you act that though. I don't know how you act that better. I don't know if there's a way. So I guess it's kind of just it has to be what it is.
I will.
You and your nitpicky fight stuff,
dude. I can't. I told you I come from a martial arts background. It's very hard for me to watch this stuff that I see that is very poorly done.
Interesting. I don't.
I do. So yeah.
I will say I did like the scene in the very early scene where Trish gets towed and Jessica just pulls it off. Not anymore. God, Jessica Jones is so well done. And I love Matt Murdock's character too. I like Karen. I kind of would. I mean, obviously they couldn't give Karen too much of a role in this show, and that's kind of why I was wishing for more of a Karen Trish interaction. But I don't know. It's just the Hand is supposed to be this amazing, huge force, and much like Logan. I didn't feel like the Hand was a huge threat.
I feel like they were very weak.
Yeah.
Like, they were basically, they didn't have, like, it's almost like their top tier fighters are all gone, apparently, or something like that. They're just relying on a bunch of scrubs now, I guess.
Right. If you're looking at the sum of its parts and these huge, incredibly powerful and respected characters, Madame Gal and Bakuto, and I mean, Bakuto was less of a douche canoe. I mean, you found out when he was a douche canoe in the end of, I'm sorry, the Iron Fist.
Should
I'm
have
so
a
glad
tally
I heard
for how
somebody
many.
else use douche canoe. That's awesome. Because my sister taught me that like 2 years ago, and I've used it ever since.
But Bakuto just seems smug and whiny in the Defenders. Now, again, the one consistent character that I really respected in the hand was Madame Gao. I think she's always... That actress is fantastic. I really hope she survived that collapse, because what else are they going to go to? And the Yoshioka, the Japanese, the lone wolf. He was another good one.
Yeah.
But we don't learn anything about him except that he's a lone wolf and he likes to hunt.
Yeah.
So he's a very mysterious, like, Quentin Tarantino-like character.
I would love to see. I'd love to see them dive into him a little bit more.
Mhm.
Maybe that'll be the next Iron Fist bad guy. I don't know. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Right.
Do you think we'll see more of the hand, or do you think we're going to get a break from the hand?
I think we're going to get a break from the hand. I think that Netflix thinks that they've exhausted that storyline. Otherwise, they wouldn't have killed so many of them off.
All right, so they could take them out of the picture for a little bit to give them a leadership restructuring somehow off screen, and then when they see them again, it'll be, oh, look at how much we've changed.
Exactly.
or even if they just bring him back in, and he's not like associated with the hand, and he's just a person after Danny Rand. I don't know, just something. I don't know. I'd just like to just learn more about him, because he just seemed really cool. Because he was like that, like traditional, like I want to say almost like a traditional samurai, like where he was very in tune with what he does and everything that he does in daily life, and that's like what was really cool about him. Because I have like this huge fascination with like Japanese culture, like old school Japanese culture, and he just reminded me of that. So, well, he was also Japanese too, so that didn't help. Didn't hurt.
Let me see what else I want to try to touch on. Oh, we touched on a couple of the characters that died, and some of the characters we thought Claire might go. Out of the other characters that died, specifically Alexandra or Stick, did either of those dicks? Did either of those deaths surprise you?
Styx did and Alexandra's did.
Alexandra's didn't. It did, but not well. It did surprise me, but not the way it's not the way I thought it was going to happen. I figured she would have been like the one like stuck in the rubble and it all collapsed on her.
That's what I was going to say.
Elektra just yanking her from behind.
Yeah. I didn't expect... you know what? I completely agree with you. I thought Alexandra was going to die either from the cancer, like, oh, that... You know, it wouldn't have been kind of poetic that she fought and used all of the hand's resources to bring back Elektra. She has lived thousands of years only to be taken down by cancer, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of poetic, but she gets taken down by Elektra, the girl that she is kind of raised from a spiritual nothing baby. So that, honestly, that I did not expect. On the other hand, Stick, I was glad to see Stick come back, first of all. Stick cutting off his own hand was pretty awesome.
That was pretty bad.
Yeah, he don't give no fucks. He was all about that.
Stick does not give a solitary shit. Oh, here's a good question. Related. Do you think Stick supporting the death of Danny Rand? Remember, he was going after him.
Yeah.
Do you think that would have solved all the problems? I mean, obviously they can't. Comic book, series, and everything like that, but...
I mean, his logic was sound.
Yeah.
If you kill Danny Rand, he can't summon the Iron Fist, they can't go through the door, problem solved.
Exactly.
And Stick, I think, they've set him up as a character who will do what is necessary. He's a little bit morally gray.
And he's the last of his secret society that fights the hand, right? I forget what it's called.
Yes.
Yes. I don't remember the name.
The Chase.
The Chase, yeah. Yeah, I always liked Stick. He just didn't give a solitary shit. I loved him. But...
I like the guy that played him, too, because he was just like, he had like that raspy, like, I'm an asshole kind of vibe to him.
But I think it was his time, and I felt, I thought he was going to die. That didn't surprise me at all.
There was no more use for him, really. I mean,
right.
if you think about it.
Right.
I mean,
although, I will say, and again repeating, I really agree with Brian when I say I thought Rosario Dawson's character was going to die.
So that thought never even entered my mind, to be honest with you. I don't know why. Never even entered in my mind.
I don't know. Just to me, it just felt like the perfect time. Like if they were gonna do it, I feel like that's the time they should have done it.
Do you know?
And now that they didn't, now I don't. I feel like she could last a lot longer than I think she's gonna last.
And that worries me.
I feel like they use that almost like Stick's death. I feel like they almost use that like to galvanize the team. It kind of
galvanized Matt. I don't know about the team.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, you're right.
Do you know what really worries me about Rosario Dawson? All right, what's her... Claire? Is that her name?
Claire.
Okay.
Claire.
Yeah.
What worries me about Claire surviving is that this is gonna be the most bullshit, Young and the Restless, romantic entanglement between Luke Cage's feelings for Jessica Jones with the woman who wrote him all these letters while he was in prison.
I mean, Luke Cage gets around. Like, are we still forgetting he fucked Misty Knight too?
Yeah, but not when he was...
He's a banging machine.
That's not the point. The point is that he is... Since he's been with Rosario Dawson, or Claire, he's been true to Claire. But
True.
you know he loves, and we obviously know from the comics that he loves Jessica Jones. So I just feel like, they're gonna add this bullshit drama. Ugh.
Which is why it's
gonna
easier
get all
just
CWE on it.
Yeah.
Which is why it's easier just to kill Claire.
Yes.
And solve
and
the
I was
problem.
kind of hoping for that. Look, she already intertwined all the characters. She did her job. She fucked Luke Cage kind of oddly when he came out of the prison and didn't get broken in the process. Good for her. Even though she weighs like 100 pounds.
She must have some good hips or something.
Yeah, really. So I really, really thought she was going to go and it would be the perfect time. And I worry about that because I think they're going to do this like soap opera thing where like Claire's going to be like, oh, I waited for you for when you were in prison and I wrote you all these letters and Jessica just got drunk and, you know, but he loves Jessica and I don't look forward to that.
I could see them doing something because she seems pretty level-headed / grounded, and she might realize that like there's no place for her in that kind of like situation. That like they're more of the same person, more compatible. I don't know. I could see that they play it that way. I don't know.
You know what?
See, I feel like if the other thing they could do is if they don't want to kill her, give her some sort of near-death scenario.
Yeah.
Because she is in close proximity to Luke Cage, her life is constantly at risk. Not that her life hasn't been at risk so far, but like we almost need something to really snap her out of it and be like, nope, I can't be here. And try to find a way to not write her off, but make her go somewhere else that's away from Luke.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the only two scenarios I see. Either they kill her or they have something like that happen to get her sort of out of the way for him and Jessica. Here's another question. Were you guys surprised that the Punisher didn't show up?
No.
No, it wasn't at all.
Okay.
There was no place for him.
No, you're right. There was no place for that.
Watching it completely, yeah, I'd agree. I don't think he would have fit into the story that they crafted. But going into this series, I thought we'd for sure get a cameo from him at some point.
Or maybe like a name drop.
Yeah, I was thinking
That'd
maybe
be
a
about
name
it.
drop.
See, I really thought he'd show up in the show somewhere. I didn't know how they'd fit him in. I couldn't make sense of it myself, but I just figured they'd try to find a way since he's the next show up, sort of like start the breadcrumbs.
Speaking of that, I saw something on Facebook. Now, everything you see on the internet's true, so... But there was some article that Moon Knight might make an appearance in Punisher.
I think I saw that headline.
Oh, that would be a classic.
Because that's been rumored that that's what they want. That's been a series that they wanted to do or people want done is a Moon Knight series.
Oh, I love
Moon
Moon Knight.
I think he looks cool. I don't know much about him though.
Oh, he's brilliant. The new series is great. He's like put it this way, if you put together, think Batman, but like multiple personalities.
Okay.
But instead of learning, his origins and powers come from Egypt, which gives it a whole nother layer of mystery. I love Moon Knight. The new Moon Knight series, again, I always urge you guys to check out these comic books. The new
I might have to try to get
the
into
new
some
Moon Knight
because he just looks interesting.
The new Moon Knight series is not only brilliantly written, but the art in it is like coffee table quality.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Moon Knight and Punisher.
That was what I saw on Facebook. I don't know how true it is, but
I've heard,
yeah, I don't know.
like, it was, like, last year I heard, oh, Punisher series may introduce Moon Knight, but I don't see.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't see
like, the
that.
headlines are saying introduce Moon Knight, but are we actually going to see Moon Knight in costume?
Or just the guy's name.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of like the Prowler and Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that being said, I would love to see Moon Knight at all. A lot of people, like you said, a lot of people don't know about Moon Knight. I'm still here.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good one to use just for something different. That again,
it would be
a
something
character
different.
that maybe people aren't as familiar with to show.
Yeah.
And plus, I hope we'd get somebody else in a fucking costume because Daredevil's the only one that's wearing a costume, and god damn it, I want more costumes on these people.
Yeah.
Moon Knight is interesting, and what I love about Moon Knight dresses in white for a reason. He is so crazy. He in the middle of night, as opposed to Batman, he wants to see his victims coming, and he says that over and over again. He wants, he wears these bright white costumes. You know what? I'm sorry, I don't want to get on a Moon Knight tangent, but I love Moon Knight. So it's just remember. So I'm showing the guys the comic, just like this great art. So I would love to see Moon Knight in a show, but I'll be honest, I'd like to see him by himself.
Well, I mean, if they put him in Punisher, they could always spin him off into something later.
True.
Which I feel like is probably their backdoor plan. That's sort of what I would assume.
That's kind of how Punisher happened.
Right.
That's kind of how Punisher happened.
You do almost like a backdoor pilot into somebody else's season and see how that takes for people. And if they like it, you move forward on the show.
Yeah.
I'm sure they got these ideas already.
Yeah,
they're much more brilliant people than we are.
It's a well-oiled machine at this point.
Yeah. Although we have come up with some like pretty fabulous ideas on this show that we've never enacted.
Yeah, none of which have happened. They're still sitting there waiting for somebody to do something with.
We got a gold mine sitting on. We got to get back and review some of our shows and start pitching some of these ideas.
Should start going back and looking about all the stuff that we predicted, whether or not it came true, if we were actually right on anything.
I know I've been right about some stuff.
I feel like it's about 90% to 10% being wrong.
Being wrong?
I think we have a slim chance. I think our 10% is what we've gotten right. I think everything else has been wrong.
I believe that. Let's get like 30-70.
Oh, that's
because we throw out a lot of shit.
That's what I mean. By
That's
sheer
true.
volume, if we get enough wrong, then that percentage goes up.
All right. I'll play your silly game.
Mainly, I'm just thinking about the Star Wars trailer we did, where we just predicted all this stuff and none of it was right.
You watch your tongue there, because I had a lot of stuff that I thought was pretty close to being right. I'm pretty sure
maybe
I
I'll
did.
have to go back and listen.
I'll have to go back and listen to that, because I think some of my theories were pretty close.
I think my theories have been pretty spot on. Although I want to see my biggest ones that I want to see come true are my Stranger Things.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
I got
definitely
into that late
revisit
too.
that one.
That's the best part too, is because I got into that late. Like the season 1 Stranger Things had been out for months by the time I even watched it, and then I was like, "Wow, now I know what everybody was talking about. How awesome this was." We binge watched the shit out of that.
Yeah. That's
I think
already
we
starting to get
finished that.
trailers for, like, rewatching. Like, Netflix is promoting the rewatch of Season 1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that comes out in October, right?
End of October. Right before Halloween.
Perfect timing.
So, yeah. That'll be awesome.
Okay, back to Defenders.
Yeah, bring us back, Mike. Anything else that stuck out to you guys you want to talk about for Defenders, the first season? I don't know. I think we've hit most of my bullet points, actually.
I'm with Becky though. I want to see a Kristen Wiig, Misty Knight show.
Yeah,
I do.
Daughters of the
I
Dragon.
think it'd be awesome. Yeah, I think it'd be awesome.
I mean, God, they're such strong characters. Both of them. And, I mean, Colleen, I think, holds up Iron Fist.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Daughter of the Dragon, they've got some decent comics. So, that began in 1977. So, that's a Chris Claremont production. You know,
Okay.
we're going classic here. So, I want to see it happen. And I think that Misty is sufficiently, disenfranchised from the law and order that she came from.
Right.
And that she knows so much about the hand and the problems in Hell's Kitchen and, in New York. So, I don't know. I want Daughters of the Dragon to happen so much because, as I always say, I want to see more strong, diverse female characters. And I love Jessica Jones. I love Trish. But these girls are badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
And that's the one thing I can say too about Kristen Wiig. She can actually fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like legitimately, she's impressive.
Yeah.
You keep saying Kristen Wiig. I hope you know.
Yeah.
That.
Kristen Wiig.
No.
Sorry.
No, she's great.
Kristen Wiig's cool too.
The only thing I'd be afraid of if they do Colleen and Misty
are you talking
is
about
that
Jessica Henwick?
Yes, I'm so. What do I keep? I'm like my names are all confused. Maybe I had too much scotch.
Jessica Henwick is amazing. I mean,
yeah,
do you know that?
That's Colleen Wing. There we go.
She has been training. She trained since she was also in Star Wars: The Force Awakens. She was just Pava, the X-wing pilot.
okay.
Very small time,
Really?
but she takes her role as Colleen very, very seriously, and she is trained non-stop with martial arts choreographer Jude Poyer. And
So she to me I feel like she's probably been doing like martial arts her entire life. That's how she portrays it.
she is not.
Whereas Danny Rand does not.
She is not, and alright, I know this fact, but I don't know what it means. She is trained for the last 3 years in Wushu.
It's a kung fu.
With both martial arts trainers and also choreographers. So, I don't know what Wushu is.
I just feel like it's a style / form of kung fu.
Okay. Well, she has been training for the last 3 years, whereas opposed to the actor who played Danny Rand, not so much.
I can see that.
Yeah, she's amazing. I mean, well, she also, if I'm not positive, but she had a dance background, and just like,
that helps.
right, it really helps. The actress, this is gonna...
Summer Glau.
Yeah, thank you! How did you know? The actress, I was just gonna say, the actress who played, River Tam, she was a professional ballet dancer until she got hurt, and she did all of her own stunts in both Firefly and Serenity, and that badass finale where she defeats all the Reavers in the Serenity movie.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
That's why she learns choreography that well, because she was a ballet dancer. And just has that sort of.
Oh yeah, I can absolutely 100% agree with that. That's really well. When we think about a martial arts, that's all it is a dance. Especially for like fight choreography, that's exactly what it is. It's a dance because it's not like you're hitting each other.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So Jessica Henwick, she's awesome. She was also in Game of Thrones.
Never watched it.
Yeah, I think that falls on deaf ears on the both of us.
Really?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't have HBO, so I've never seen Game of Thrones.
I will tell you very quickly that I think Game of Thrones is incredibly overrated. People are going to hate me for that. The books
I debated if we should do some sort of Game of Thrones thing, sort of like I did The Walking Dead before, where I had everybody else on that watches the show and they can talk about it and I'll just sit here.
Me and Josh, thanks. Yeah.
Well, hey, you guys represented.
We did.
I know there's people like that I have on the show that watch Game of Thrones and I don't, so if you guys need an avenue to talk about it, maybe we can try to make that happen. The one thing I was going to say about with Colleen and Misty, if they get their own show, which would be cool, the only downside of that, I think, is you take Colleen away from the Iron Fist show, which is one of the redeeming factors of the Iron Fist show. So then you're stuck just with Danny.
But I think you've got Iron Fist. I think Power Man and Iron Fist is as it should be, is that duo.
Yeah.
Which, if they were doing a Heroes for Hire show, I would say, yeah, sure, let's have Colleen and Misty do their thing. But the fact that Luke Cage is getting a second season on its own, Iron Fist is getting a second season on its own, they're two separate things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I think that Power Man and Iron Fist can... I mean, look, they've got a great comic book series, and I think that they can hold up on their own. Yeah.
And they kept hinting at it, too. Like, he even has that conversation with Claire, and she mentions, like, oh, are the police gonna pay you for doing their job?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys... I'm showing the guys... Look at these awesome covers. I mean...
See, we get visual aids. You guys don't get that.
Yeah.
Like...
I remember seeing that one.
Look at this. And I also have the hip-hop variants, which are pretty cool.
Those were pretty cool.
Yeah, and by the way, I will say in the comic books, Iron Fist has a lot more of like a puckish personality. He's kind of, I don't know, he's really smart alecky, whereas Danny Rand in the Marvel series,
He's a little
he's
bitch.
a bitch. He's
He
a little
is.
whiny. I mean, he's got this Buddhist, but like, alright, here's a great comparison. He's your one vegan friend who won't shut up about it because he's all enlightened. And he always posts things about like, oh, you know, if you just do homeopathy, you'll be fine. And you're just like, oh, shut the fuck up. And you know why he has the benefit of doing that? Because they're rich.
Yeah.
So
That's
My
a
thought is,
oddly
though,
specific
too,
description.
My thought is too on the character of Danny Rand, which like maybe they're trying to portray, is you figure he was a child when he ended up, you know, with the monks and stuff like that. No civilized, not modern society. He wasn't dealing with that. He was basically a kid. So like you almost wonder if he like maybe never kind of grew up. Like he grew up as a person, you know, and trained and all that stuff and became enlightened, but like you could see his temper still come through as like he's still a child.
Okay.
Because he never really matured with like everybody else. Like he basically was just a punching bag for other people and being taught that he has to be the hand, you know. I think maybe that's why he is the way he is and they play him like that. That's just my theory.
I could see that, but part of me thinks like if you spend 15 years with a bunch of monks, they would sort of beat that out of you.
yeah.
This is true too.
I don't think they'd
Very
allow
true.
some snotty little kid to throw temper tantrums all the time at the monastery.
Well, maybe that's because he never was able to, so now it's all coming out now that he's back in the real
he
world.
just held it well
I mean,
until he got back to
well-
New York.
That being said,
He got his ass kicked every time he opened his mouth, so he probably never said anything, so now he just wants to let it out.
and also remember that the hand members were original members of Kunlun, and it took them quite a while
Yeah.
for them to kick those assholes out.
True. Anything else? I think, I feel like we're wrapping up, but if you guys have anything else you want to chime in on, I think that might be it. Well, here, let's end with this one then. Any predictions for upcoming seasons?
They're gonna get rid of Rosario Dawson somehow.
She probably requires a little too much money. That would be my thought. Or maybe that's why they only keep her in like small bits and pieces in episode in the series.
Really?
I don't know. She was in
I
a
mean,
good.
she-
She was in a good bit of Luke
I mean-
Cage and a good bit of Defenders. I don't
Yeah.
know if she
I don't know,
comes.
maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm thinking like maybe she isn't as as a sought after actress as I think she is. Maybe I guess I don't know. I mean, it's not like it's not like pulling in a Sigourney Weaver type actress,
Right,
caliber of person. But I mean, it's not like she's just a B-list actor kind of deal. Or maybe I guess she is. I don't know.
No, I actually
got-
like Rosario Dawson, and I just keep thinking she was in Rent, which is the worst movie ever made. I can't, just to let you guys know, Rent fucking sucks. It's the worst musical ever made. It's pretty people looking nice and being absolutely worthless. Terrible movie. Rosario Dawson brought a little bit of, like, respect to it. Terrible. But I like Rosario Dawson in general.
I like her in that one movie with Denzel Washington and Chris Pine, the train
Oh
movie.
yeah, that's right. What was the name of that?
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. That's it. I love that movie.
She was also Men in Black too.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't have a lot of predictions. I want to see more Jessica Jones. I want to see her grow and develop. I would love to see Luke Cage become more involved with Jessica Jones. I want to see more Jessica Jones. I would.
That's a good prediction.
And that.
Apparently, David Tennant's coming back for season 2.
Oh, really?
I heard that. I don't know how they're going to do it,
Yeah.
but
Probably it's gotta be flashback related. It has
People
to be.
really loved him as
That's the only thing I
Stingray.
can think of.
He.
I did too. I thought he was
think
awesome.
he's
he's still my favorite
he's
villain
my favorite
in all
villain.
the Netflix.
Yeah.
All of Netflix. He's probably, I put him in with all of Marvel villains.
That's true.
Period.
Right. Yeah, I think Loki's a close second, but I think Kilgrave's up there.
I completely agree. And also they give him an actual background, So,
Yeah.
I really need them to develop it, Danny Rand, and make him grow up. Because, yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna have to change some things because I know it wasn't well received.
And
they're gonna have, they're smart enough, they're gonna have to realize that they're gonna have to change things.
Yeah.
Do something differently.
Do you think that the Defenders redeemed Iron Fist at all for you? Is he a little bit better character here than he was in his show?
he had more action. In the first episode, he and Colleen went to where? Where were they? Hong Kong? And they fought? Or Taiwan? Or I don't remember where they were.
They were in a
They were in a
somewhere,
sewer.
so I don't even remember where.
In Asia. I think he got more action in that sewer than 3/4 of Iron Fist. But, well, again, I think there was a lot of necessary plot development in Defenders because I agree with you, Brian. I think that putting them together in the first episode just wouldn't have been right. There's gotta be some plot development.
You gotta build it, yeah.
Yeah. And in that way, I think that bringing Danny back is okay. But I still don't think that Danny has grown at all, where every other character has grown and changed a little bit. Danny's just the same punk rich kid who's like, I still make the connection to Arrow. He wants to save his city. He came back from nothing, got his money, and now he's trying to save this city.
Yeah.
I don't think his motivations or his personality have changed at all. After the end, maybe losing a new friend, maybe.
It seems to be they're leaning that way because it seems like he's taking over the protector role of like Hell's Kitchen and stuff now that Matt's supposedly they think he's dead. And that was the last words to him, right? Or something like "protect my city" or something along those lines.
Yep.
So hopefully that'll give Danny some sort of direction to move towards, and hopefully we'll see some character development that way. Obviously, we won't see it until the next season of Iron Fist, but hopefully they have a place to go in mind.
Yeah. I will say that, what did you guys think about the, end of credit scene? Because you know who they allude to being there from the comics. His mom, Sister Maggie. Sister Maggie is his mom.
We're talking about Matt.
Yeah. At the end of credit scene, they say, "Fetch Sister Maggie," which is that's his mom. So
are we led to believe that his mom knows the whole time that he's been Daredevil and doing this thing, or is it just coincidence that he happened to be at the same place where she is?
Well,
I feel like that'd be a really odd coincidence. He just happens to show up at the place where his mom is.
Well, I'm going to say that she knows only because if you go back to, and I don't know how true this is to the actual real Daredevil comic books, but if you think about the Ben Affleck Daredevil, how his dad was called, they called him the devil or something like that. And, as a fighter, as a boxer, he was. I don't know if that is how the comic books are or not, because I don't know much about Daredevil. So I'm just wondering if maybe she puts two and two together that maybe I don't even know if that's what they're calling, if that's how they're playing the Netflix series. It doesn't seem like it though.
Okay. Let me tell you guys something about the comics. Sister Maggie appears in Daredevil number 229, and yes, I know this. This is sad. Why can't I remember anything that's important?
This is important.
Okay. The all-time greatest Daredevil story, in my humble opinion, is called Born Again. Created by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. Okay. Born Again.
Frank Miller's awesome.
Tells about Sister Maggie being Matt's mother, but it's Wilson Fisk coming back and taking his ultimate revenge on Matt Murdock. And Sister Maggie plays into that entire storyline.
Give me some more Wilson Fisk. I'll be happy.
I like Wilson Fisk. I thought he was a complex, morally driven character and a great villain. Not as great as Kilgrave, but Kilgrave, Madame Gao, and Fisk were my three favorite villains in the Netflix universe.
Plus, I like Vincent D'Onofrio too, so I've always liked him.
I think Sister, and I will give you guys my copies of Born Again so that you guys can read how awesome this Daredevil storyline is. Because Sister Maggie coming back alludes to that entire Born Again series coming back. If that's a step in that direction, I would love it.
Which would make sense because they think he's dead, so he's going to come back. So, I mean, I could see how they could play it like that.
Well, there's your prediction, Becky. You're predicting for next season of Daredevil.
Yep. We'll see.
Well, because I'm trying to remember, I think Frank Miller did almost like a Daredevil Year 1, right? Wasn't that called Man Without Fear?
Yes, that was Man Without Fear. But he also...
Wasn't that sort of like the first season of Daredevil?
Yes. Yes, it was. It was very similar. And then Frank Miller did Born Again as well. So...
Okay, so that's what I mean. Maybe they're sticking with some Frank Miller influences for the show and the character.
So they stick in dark and gritty, so I mean,
I would be
that fits.
Perfectly okay.
Frank Miller fits that.
I would be perfectly okay with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's a good prediction to go with. I don't really have any predictions for any of the other seasons of characters. We're getting Punisher next. That is supposedly in November sometime. They don't have there's no concrete date. They've released teasers, but it just says 2017, and the actual month and day is blacked out for right now. So we'll see when they finally reveal that. But the rumor, the month that I keep hearing is November. So we'll see what happens with that.
You know Netflix isn't going to put it out in October, especially with Stranger Things coming out. They're not going to put two major titles like that out in the same month.
True.
Or if they do, it's going to be like complete opposite ends of the month.
Yeah. Yeah, I still feel like October's kind of soon. I feel like they've released stuff around November before, like these other Marvel series, so I feel like November fits. So yeah, we'll see what happens with all these. Any closing thoughts or anything before we finish this off? Nothing? Alrighty. Alright, so this was where we'll wrap it up. If you enjoyed the show, please stop by iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Be sure to share, subscribe, favorite wherever you listen. You can find us on Facebook, search Bry Guy Super Friends, or go to www.facebook.com/BryGuySuperFriends. And there you can send us questions, comments, topic suggestions, any of that stuff. You can also email us at bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at BGSuperFriends on Twitter. All of those will work. On behalf of Becky, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Na zdrowie!